Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Future 101 first ever community live stream. My name is Andriy, and I am blessed with the presence of my favorite co-host, Miss Brown.
Aw, you're so sweet.
Are you always gonna say that
I'm
every
always
time?
gonna say that. It's sweet.
I guess I'll have to say the same thing then too.
You've said it every time so far, so we're good.
But anyway, so today we're gonna be talking about Roe v. Wade being overturned, and we're gonna talk about the implications of that on Canada and the abortion laws and history of Canada and the abortion laws here.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, I guess we should say that this is a community live stream, so there's going to be a lot of communication with the viewers
Mm-hmm.
and our audience. So the main purpose of this is to obviously talk about Roe v. Wade, but we're also here to fix
Some
all of
technical problems.
all the bugs that we had in our first live stream.
Yeah, so we can do better going forward.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing lots of fixes, lots of chatting, and things are going to be just very casual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For a very serious
So
conversation.
Miss Brown is going to be watching the YouTube comments. So if you guys have any specific questions, you should throw in a comment there. We're going to pause between topics, or when we're fixing things, we're definitely going to address your questions that you may have. And we will interact as much as we can in between our topics. So that's that. So now I'm gonna queue up. Wait, are we good to queue it up? What's with the loading thingy? Okay. Anyway,
I don't see a loading thingy.
it's just like loading for me. You see it? Okay, so. Well, do you want to talk about Roe v. Wade and what your reaction was initially to that?
My initial reaction.
While I set this up.
I know people love American politics. Um, I hear about it. I don't like go searching for this information, but with all the craziness that our world has been experiencing these past 2 years, nothing surprises me anymore. So I'm honestly okay. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I knew that Roe v. Wade was being discussed, that it could be overturned. I
Oh.
wasn't really sure if they were going to go through with it or not.
Right?
Okay, 1 second. What's
What?
going on?
We're not even just started, and he's already moved the window.
Why did it move? I'm just trying to make
You
a new
touched it.
page.
You're not supposed to touch it.
Okay, you want that to do a new tab?
Yeah.
Command T. New tab.
Wait, what is it?
Command T.
T.
Command
New
T.
tab.
Okay, so I'm not
Technologically inclined.
no, this is why we have a producer.
Yes.
Okay, there's one. So I got one up.
Oh, you can't even see my little moose.
Yeah, show
we've got
off.
moose for Canada Day.
This is here.
Oh,
We can
well,
name
they can
them.
see the ones. Name them just like on the spot. Okay, if you have name suggestions for a moose,
We got AO.
A as in the thing Canadians say, EH, right?
EH, yeah.
Yeah. This one was
EHH
EHH.
exclamation mark.
No, it's just one H. We got to work on Andrew's spelling.
Okay,
But yeah,
command T.
we've got little Canadian symbols with us today because we
Yeah.
love Canada.
Well, Canada Day's coming up on Friday.
Yes, it is.
Big day for our country. And so we're going to be shamelessly Canadian.
We need to define what that means.
Loud and proud.
Yes. Wear red and white.
Yeah, not blue and white.
No. You're not dressed in Canadian colors
Okay,
today.
I don't know, do we have any viewers yet? Let me check.
YouTube says we have 3.
Oh, it kicked me off Facebook. This content isn't available right now? What?
That's great.
Okay, I loaded 2 pages. That's all the fun facts.
Send you the link on there.
He's gonna send you the link.
Oh, Where's that gonna go?
In a normal place.
Anyways, yeah, my reaction to Roe versus Wade being overturned. I was doing some research to figure out like what the actual case was, like the Roe versus Wade case, and then I forget the names of the other ones, but there's at least one other case that also kind of was related in some sense. I was just very confused because it's not, and we're going to talk about this a bit later, but the Roe versus Wade thing is not explicitly about abortion.
It's not about abortion at all.
Exactly.
That was.
So if you look into the history of it and what the Roe versus Wade case is, you're going to be confused because you go in thinking that it's about abortion and that doesn't make sense because it isn't actually. But we will get into that some more after the fun articles of the past week.
Yeah. I'm almost done setting that up.
I love that we were prepared last time for the first stream, and now this time we're like, we're gonna take it so casually. We'll wait until we're live to start getting things ready.
Well, this is why you have to entertain the viewers.
Yes.
This is your practice. How to be entertaining without having any context to talk about.
I'll give you a taste of what we're gonna get into later.
Yeah, just keep listing stuff.
Just keep listing stuff.
Just keep talking about what we're gonna do.
Well,
So people get excited. Get people excited and pumped for this community live stream. It's gonna be the best community live stream you've ever seen.
yes. So please interact with us. Leave us some comments. We will
Okay.
read them and respond. Yeah, we've got some fun photos coming up that appeared in the news and on social media in the past week. Very interesting stuff with all of the protests that have erupted in the States over the past week. When did Roe versus Wade get overturned? Was it Friday? I think so. I think it was Friday.
Yep.
That was when the news came
Yeah,
out.
it was Friday.
Yep. So it's been less than a week. There were protests immediately that day from both the pro-life side and the pro-choice. I guess the pro-life wasn't a protest, but it was like people were celebrating in the streets.
Yeah.
The pro-lifers and then everybody who's
Having a party.
pro-choice. Yeah, and then everyone who's pro-choice is like all angry about this. And again, this is not actually about abortion. So they're all furious about something they don't even understand.
Well, the conclusion that we came to is that they are misinformed and uninformed at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes, because they are believing a lie, what they're being told, the narrative that the media is pushing. And that's the misinformation. But they're also uninformed because they're not doing the research to find out what Roe v. Wade actually was and what the legislation or whatever they call that in the
Yeah,
States
there's
is.
no research done.
Yeah.
They'll put all this effort into going out and put doing posters and on the writing on a
Yeah.
cardboard and you know taking the full day to go out and protest and
Yeah.
break windows and shit, but
But
they're
they don't
not gonna
even
do
know
the
what they're
research.
protesting about.
They're
Or
not gonna do the research of what's
they're
going
protesting
on.
about it's kind of a moot point because they're protesting about something in reaction to something that is pretty much not related.
Well, they're screaming for more rights, which is exactly what they got.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That is what happened. Oh, you disappeared from the live stream, Andre.
I did.
You did. It was just a
Like the
chalk
video?
square.
Oh.
First,
Oh. Nice.
Have you not been there the whole time? Wait, how did that come unplugged?
It just was never plugged.
But you were there before.
Hmm?
How did I not notice that you weren't there the whole time?
Oh, yeah, I'm just a ghost.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
bad.
I was only looking at.
Okay, we have a
Oh,
problem
you know
because I
why?
don't know
Because
how
the
to
screen
share
was
these
over.
photos now. How are we gonna share the photos?
The same way we did last time.
Which was what?
He shares them?
I guess. Yeah, but the idea is that I can do it. But I guess I can just go to like Word or something. I can open up Word.
What? Word? I
Or
don't know
not
what
Word, Google
I don't
Docs
know
and
what
just
you're trying to
throw it in
do.
there. Well, we have the photos in our Lark document, right?
Oh. Oh,
And there's no way for me to really transfer that.
shoot, we should have talked about that sooner.
Yeah, so how are we gonna do that?
Yeah, you should have all those in a folder on pCloud that I can access.
In a folder in pCloud. Okay.
Otherwise,
Wait,
I
but
can't
which
access
folder
them and show
specifically?
them.
Hmm? But is there a way I can do it so that I can just show it whenever I want instead of
How?
asking you to do
Unless you
it?
want to show them the entire Google Doc
Okay, well then I'll make another Google Doc that will just have the
or
photos.
Lark Doc or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, Command T.
You have to select the window. Commanding T when I'm using the cursor in another browser does not help you.
I did click on it.
Lessons on how to use technology
Uh,
by our future 101. Hey, you always learn something with us, right? That's good.
it's
You can't see
We've
my
gone
little
up a couple
moose.
more viewers, so people are starting to come on in.
more viewers. Where
It's
you
on
have them on
YouTube.
YouTube?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well,
Doesn't
hello.
matter
Welcome.
where. Trust
We
what
are
I'm
just
saying
doing.
and just
You
act
deal with that.
accordingly.
All right.
We are having some technical difficulties right now that we're going to fix up so we can show you all of the ridiculous things that have been happening this week. We've got. Oh, I was going to list the things we were talking about. We have some
Did you
interesting
not go in
photos.
Lark?
What?
You are something else.
Thank you.
Okay, you want me to do this?
I don't know what are you complaining about? What's wrong?
You need to make another Lark document and then
You're
just
going to
transfer
Google
images,
Docs,
right?
but we don't use Google Docs.
Well, who cares?
It's all
Why
about
does it matter which one is
principle
it?
and ethics and
Oh my
morals
god.
and integrity. We avoid Google.
Oh, we can use the browser.
You do. Wait, the Google
Oh no, we're
browser.
using Safari.
Yeah,
We're
not
not using
Chrome.
anything Google actually.
But now you want to use Google.
Yeah, because it's easier.
They're the same thing. How's it easier?
No, but I have to go to Lark. And...
Which you're already in, are you not?
So you have to go to Lark on your machine, create the doc, put
Okay,
the images,
I'm just gonna do this.
and then once the images are there, then I can open the doc in the browser. Yeah, this dead time is terrible, guys.
We have interesting things to show you. We just apparently weren't prepared to show them.
Okay, can you show me how I get to Telegram here now? Because I'm in like full screen mode, but I don't want to just fuck everything up.
Finger swipe.
Which way?
Whichever way your stuff is. I don't know where how you have things organized.
Oh, okay. There we go. That works.
Oh no, it deleted the image.
Okay, so that's that. And I will check YouTube.
Do you want the screenshots as well or just the photos?
The screenshots too, but just have them organized in a way that if we zoom in, then the other ones are not showing.
I will do my best.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go on here.
Anyways, we did some really interesting research, or we found some very interesting things while we were doing research for this live stream. So we want to share that with you. Okay, it's there now. All the screenshots and the photos. The doc is called Images.
Images. Okay.
It's in the folder for today's podcast.
Yeah, it's already on there. Okay.
And there you go.
I'll just have to zoom in. Is there a way to zoom in on Lark? How does that work? No.
Yeah, you just 2 fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, we good now?
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
All right, let's get started for real this time.
Okay, we don't need this. All right. So let's get started. We've got some interesting articles first before we get into the topic. We are going to talk about ground beef in Canada. So the article is ground beef sold in Canada could soon have a health warning label. Do you want to go into the detail about that because you're the one who found this stuff?
Yeah, so oh no, I have to find the link. Shoot.
Okay, well, I'm gonna.
Are you looking at it? Just read I think it's
So
the first paragraph.
ground beef, one of
Yeah, I
Canada's
closed it.
favorite and most affordable protein options, might soon be plastered with a warning label at a grocery store. Health Canada could soon stick a mandatory front of package warning label on ground beef and possibly pork on grounds of containing unhealthy high amounts of sugar. Yes, sugar, sodium, saturated fat, and more.
Why is there sugar in the meat?
Um, I don't know. Well, my guess would be that it's the glucose that's in the cells, but like I don't know how the packaging really works if they're counting those things.
I don't
But
know.
why do we need warning labels for meat these days? What's going on?
They want to scare us.
Oh, it's gonna be like one of those things with
It's a warning
cigarettes
label.
with with for smoking. You know, like they got these
Oh
smoking
no.
kills. It's gonna be beef
Meat
kills.
kills.
It's gonna be one of those.
Oh no. Oh, but if you scroll down to the bottom of that article, um, there's
Oh, there's more. Okay.
there's a quote. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna find it. Um, but it talks about why this is a little bit hypocritical, maybe. Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Ooh, I had to translate an article by him a couple of years ago in school. Anyways,
Doctor.
yeah. This is the senior director at Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. Yeah, I had to translate something. We did a unit on food, and I had to translate something written by him.
Okay.
Anyways, he pointed out why he believes the label could be hypocritical. Processed foods like snack pack pudding, Chips Ahoy cookies, and bear paws will not require any front of package labels, but ground beef and pork will.
Nice.
So we're going to continue to not warn people about the actual like high sugar content, highly processed foods and the, health, whatever the opposite of benefits are of those things, but we're going to warn you right there on the front of the package about
So why beef
meat.
specifically? Why meat specifically? Why are we not warning about cookies and ice cream?
Because meat is actually healthy for you, and then the cookies and the high sugar content things are not. And as we have seen, our government while it claims very much to care about our health and do everything in the name of safety for us, it does not actually care about
Yeah,
our
this
health.
this is actually crazy ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is just them continuing to do the exact opposite of what they always claim to be doing.
As usual.
Yep,
Okay.
nothing new there. It's
Well,
just more in your face this time because it's literally going to be a warning label on the package of what you're buying.
no. Women go on a nationwide sex strike. I guess this is in response to the Roe v. Wade um,
Yes, it
in
is.
Portland. Let's talk about this.
Ooh, this
So,
is
what's the sex strike? Tell me about it.
it's called abstinence. If you, I don't know, do you have the article open?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
article's
okay.
up.
Well, scroll through that a bit because the headlines and the tweets and stuff they've got are hilarious.
Okay.
Um, no sex with men until Roe versus Wade is protected. Sex with men equals not worth the risk.
Oh, we're looking at the tweets. Okay.
Yes. And there's some photos of protesters with signs. Um,
Nobody's
so
gonna have sex
oh
with you
okay.
anyways. Why do you have to say that?
So mandatory vaccines are wrong, but mandatory pregnancy is right. This makes no sense. Um, so mandatory pregnancy? I've
Wait, wait,
seen
wait. Let me find this.
scroll down a
Oh, I
bit.
see it. Okay.
It's a little on, yeah. Uh-huh.
Lisa Beth got a Ukrainian flag too. Not
All the
Ukrainian,
virtue signaling.
but so mandatory vaccines are wrong, but mandatory pregnancy is right. This makes no fucking sense. Hashtag sex strike. Hashtag do not give men pleasure. Okay, there. So yeah, mandatory vaccines are wrong. Absolutely.
Yes, they are. We are not
Mandatory
arguing that.
pregnancy. Are we forcing mandatory pregnancy? I thought we are talking about
Okay.
abortion here.
Yes. So okay, this is so there was a
What's the logic? Can you
I
can
don't know,
you
but I want to know what mandatory pregnancy is because how do you
Okay, look, you've got all kinds of methods, I'll tell you. You got your morning, well actually no, we're not even going to get to the morning pill. You've got your condoms. You got
the morning what?
the morning pill.
Okay, I've never
The
heard it
morning
called.
after pill.
Oh, that's
The
okay. Wait, no,
plan
that's
B,
called
plan
Plan
B,
B.
plan B.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, first you've got don't have irresponsible sex,
So abstinence.
abstinence, which is what they're doing now. Maybe this
Yes.
you've got condoms, you've got your IUDs, you got
The
your
pill.
the pill, you've got the pull-out method. Like, and if everything else fails, if you're absolutely irresponsible and like everything fails, you got the plan B pill then the next morning.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
There's
There's
a
no
whole
excuse.
yeah, there's a lot
There's
of
there's
ways
no
to
excuse to say that you're forced into pregnancy because
no.
you're literally responsible for what happens.
Yes, but also, can we all just please recognize that if you're going to have sex, there is a chance that you could get pregnant?
Oh, of course, of course.
So just go into that knowing that it
Yeah,
is not mandatory pregnancy. There is a chance you take on that risk.
yeah.
That's just a fact. But people don't like facts.
No, no.
Yes, but anyways,
It's
it's just this is interesting wording because I've seen a pregnancy help center was vandalized with forced birth is murder. And I'm like, what on earth is forced birth? Because again, this
Wait, is
is
this in
a
the article
risk
here
that
too?
you take on. No, it's something else I saw on
Okay.
Instagram. Um, again, this is the risk that you take on if you're going to have sex. You could get pregnant. So it's not forced birth.
No, nobody's forcing you to have sex. Nobody's forcing you to get pregnant.
Yes.
Um, yeah, this is just a completely different issue. I mean, you're kind of missing the point there, Lisa
Mm-hmm.
Beth.
Yep. Okay, and scroll down a bit to the Women of America take the pledge because SCOTUS overturned Roe versus Wade. We cannot take the risk of an unintended pregnancy. Therefore, we will not have sex with any man, including our husbands, unless we are trying to become pregnant. Hashtag sex strike. Okay.
Okay, but isn't it like the irresponsible women are the ones who are like having lots of sex, right? So isn't it going to be hurting them in the end because they're the ones who are having sex? They're like, no, no, no. We're, you know what? We're gonna stop giving pleasure to these people because we've been pleasuring you all the time. It's like, I don't know, but a lot of
Aren't you
these,
doing it because you want to?
yeah, like, are you saying that the sex that you've had before is not consensual
Oh
or
no.
it's not pleasurable for you? Maybe they just have terrible sex and they're just angry. That could be the reason.
Then just stop. I don't know. This is
Women
so
are out
weird.
of control. Bethany, what or Miss Brown, what do we do about this?
Honestly, if you want to have a sex strike, you go right ahead because here's the like funny thing of it, right? So they think that abortion is now illegal in the states, which is not true. In
Yeah.
some states, yes, they now have the freedom to decide for their own state what they want to do, whether it should be legal, whether there should be restrictions around it, or whether it should be illegal. And if you just decide to stop having sex to prevent getting pregnant, then you won't need to have an abortion. So if this actually happens, if they go on this sex strike for long enough, the abortion clinics will just come out. Then what are you gonna do? Then you're gonna have to start from scratch all over again when they all get tired of not having sex and then they want their abortions again. I don't know. This is just a mess. Um,
You,
Go ahead, have your sex strike. The abortion clinics will go out of business.
and what do we do then? All that money we're losing.
But then maybe people will just stop having abortions because they
Oh,
can't.
I don't no,
I
come on
don't
now.
know.
Don't be ridiculous. Well, I think we should probably dive in and talk about what the Roe v. Wade and the ruling actually was.
You don't want to show your liberals of TikTok?
Oh, we're gonna go back to that. We're
Oh, we're
gonna
gonna go
circle
back
back.
to that. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna go back to that because I feel like we need to discuss the Supreme Court ruling and like what's going on
All
and
of
all the
that
key
first. We'll
yeah.
give you the
We'll
context
give you the
first,
context
then
because
we'll
then
show you the
it's a
funny
lot
stuff.
funnier once you know what's going on. In case like you
Yes.
didn't do the research yet and you came here to find out
We
for
did the
yourself.
research for you.
Right. So,
Yes, come here to learn.
yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, essentially the Roe v. Wade, the overturning of Roe v. Wade gives each state the power to decide whether their citizens want abortion to be legal or abortion to be restricted or abortion to be illegal entirely. And so essentially what this means is that it's not about the Supreme Court to decide what is right and what is wrong. It
Mm-hmm.
is up to the people and the people, the entire community living in the state to decide whether abortion is right or it's
Yep.
wrong. So it is actually giving more power to the people and it's
Mm-hmm.
giving the choice to the people, the one that they're always asking for.
So ironic. They're complaining now that they're being given more opportunity to actually influence what their state, the place that they're living in, is
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
But I also wanted to talk about a little bit more specifically about Roe v. Wade and the ruling and why they
Mm-hmm.
decided to overturn it because it's like they're always talking about this Roe v. Wade as like a step back because we are just abandoning constitutional rights in America, and this is a constitutional right to have an abortion, but the abortion right was given through Roe v. Wade, and it gave authority to the federal government to establish these things, but it was given through implications from
Yeah, it
the
was never
the
explicitly
the
stated.
Constitution. Yeah, it's not explicitly stated in the Constitution. Like like,
Can't
your
be mixing up the federal government and the Supreme Court. They are not one and the same.
right. So the Supreme Court would have the decision. But I mean, the Supreme Court would have the decision over the entire country, right? In terms of its ruling for abortions. And so now what they decided was that it's not a constitutional thing. It should never have been made because the implication is just far fetched from the Constitution, and they take it from several of their amendments, and we're going to go through that here in the key takeaways from this overturn. Um, well, so each of the justices had different arguments in terms of what why it's going to be overturned. So the ruling was 6-3. Now where's the part what I'm looking for?
Yeah, you should have this stuff already marked in a doc.
Oh, there we go. Um, so the Roe v. Wade ruling had reasoned that a right to an abortion stems from a right to privacy grounded in the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the amendments where they combine all this and said, there you go, you have right for an abortion, but it doesn't explicitly state that. So I quote, the Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, wrote Justice Samuel Alito, Alito,
I don't know.
who was joined by the conservative Justice Clarence Thomas and Neil
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh.
And Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
So I mean, their decision was based on the fact that, hey, it's not really up to us to make any decisions here because there's no constitutional grounds to have the right for abortion.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's not up to us, it's up to the people to decide. That's what the Constitution says. The Constitution is neutral on abortion. It's not pro, it's not against abortion. It simply states, okay, well, if the citizens want it, they can have it. If they don't, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they did. And yet we have people complaining about it, that they have no choice. But you have more choice now because you are in your own state. You're going to be voting for your elected officials that will actually make the decision for you. That you voted for them. Maybe they're campaigning on abortion or they're campaigning pro-life. Well, that's going to be up to the citizens to decide which person they vote for.
And hopefully they voted for people they actually agree with. Because
Yeah.
if you vote for someone that you didn't agree with just because you thought that they were going to get in, or you tried to vote like,
Oh, you
the
do
one
all
that
of
you're
this.
trying to get out, yeah. Depending on your strategy for voting, hopefully you vote for the person that you actually agree with, because then you might actually, what you want might actually be like represented then in your state government. If not, well, then you should have voted for the person that you align with.
Yeah.
That is on you. Or if you didn't vote, well, then you're not participating in the politics. Yeah, but something that we've talked about, probably we talk about it a lot. I don't know if we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. Is that politics is downstream from culture. So everyone is like up in arms about how abortion is now illegal and you don't have access to it or whatever, which isn't true. Even if you're living in a state where it is where it's being made illegal or is going to be made illegal, you can drive to another state, because it's I think it's 50-50 ish in the states in terms of who is likely to make it illegal and who is not likely
It's
to do
about
that.
50. It's always been split.
Yeah. So you can drive to another state. As we might talk about later, you can drive to Canada.
Yeah.
Come here and take advantage of our free healthcare. That's so bad. That's horrible. But it's, the state that you're living in, the decision that they're going to make is based on the culture of the state. So it's very likely that if you live in a state where they're going to make it illegal, the general consensus is that abortion is wrong and that it should not be happening. And there are always going to be outliers. That's
Yeah.
inevitable. You could be the one person living in the state who is pro abortion, but you live in a state where everybody else is against it. So it's going to be made illegal. And that happens to be where you live.
Yeah.
That's always going to be the case. Guess what? There's going to be people in the opposite situation living in states that are allowing it who are strongly opposed to abortion.
And they're pissed off. They're paying taxpayers money that, some of it goes towards building the clinics and doing
Yeah.
all this stuff and doing the programs. Like, yeah, there's both sides. You're never going to get everybody satisfied with
Mm-hmm.
this. You cannot just outright say abortion is great and then have everybody go, yay. Um, you're never going to convince people. And so there's always going to be people on one side, people on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best for you to decide what you want to do in your own state. And if you don't like that state, you're just like, fuck, my governor's messed up and he does all these things I don't like, then you're welcome to move to another state. The borders are open. Nobody's forcing you
For
to stay there.
now.
Yeah. Like the borders are open between the states, right?
Yes.
It's not like they're so nobody's really forcing you to stay there, but there's always going to be the argument of like, oh, they won't have the money to travel to get an abortion, and what do we say to those people?
Maybe you should take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. That's
Yes, you should always take responsibility for your actions. What are you talking about? You're the one who's usually more strict about this.
no, that's too much to ask, apparently.
Be responsible.
Well, let's see how responsible these people are. We got libs of TikTok who are going to be screaming, actually screaming. So this is a warning to everybody who's watching us.
Cover your ears.
Maybe turn down the volume a little bit. I'm not sure how loud it's going to come out. But let's see. Oh, I'm scared I put her all the way up.
Get angry!
Okay, there we go.
This is atrocious! This is war on women! How fucking dare the Supreme Court do this shit! Fuck you, Kavanaugh! Fuck you, Gorsuch, for lying under oath when you were confirmed, saying that you believed that this was settled! Women will die! But as long as it fits your Christian...
Okay, I'm gonna pause. We're gonna take her one piece at a time.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there, and I cannot listen to her for 2 minutes straight. So
Oh, okay.
actually, I can't even. I don't know if that's a guy or a girl.
I think it's a girl.
It could be a trans.
I think it's a girl.
You think it's a
I
girl?
think so. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Anyway, women will die, Bethany.
Really?
Yeah, women will die. Don't you know?
From banning abortion. Well, okay, this is under the context that abortion has been banned. Let me clarify that. It has not, depending on the state that you live in. But that's the context. This woman is like, women are going to die because they can't get abortions. First of all, if we're talking about the fetus, the female fetuses are not being killed because you can't get an abortion. So look at that. Less women are dying already. If we're talking about dangerous pregnancies, the actual procedures for ectopic or whatever else are not actually abortions. So
Yes.
those have not been outlawed.
Yeah, in the States, the ones that have banned abortion, they haven't banned the procedure to keep the mother alive.
Yes.
So if the mother is in danger, this is literally just misinformation.
Yes.
Like she's
It is.
yelling misinformation.
She's
pissed
also
off.
uninformed because
Yeah.
she doesn't know that the procedure for an ectopic pregnancy is not abortion.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, do these people not know if they're so passionate about the topic, or are they just doing it to get people more angry?
Like to push a narrative.
Yeah.
That's possible. It's
Maybe it's
definitely
a little bit of
possible.
both. They
I
do like only slight research and only find the things that they want,
Yeah,
and then they just
like
push
in an
that.
echo
Yeah,
chamber.
yeah.
Yeah, that is very highly possible.
That's kind of what it seems
Mm-hmm.
like. But again, women dying, like, come on now, like this is crazy. This is what she open. Get angry. This is what she opens with. Anyways, we're gonna go back to this
Oh, and
crazy.
and there's a war on women.
Oh yes, yeah, I guess so.
Really?
I mean, you've been given more choice in the matter. Yet there's a war on women. Do you understand that? I guess she doesn't understand that some women do not agree with her narrative, but they kind of label everybody as if, all women support this and all women are
Mm-hmm.
pro-abortion. But that's not going to be
That
the
is not
case,
true.
especially in a lot of the red states where they do ban abortion. Again, politics is downstream from culture, so
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the population is going to be against that, and majority of the population, including women, will have a voice in that.
Yes, because
So,
women can vote now.
like, who are you representing here, lady? You probably live in a state that loves abortion. So, like, I'm just confused why they get so pissed off because the abortion is not going to be illegal in their state.
Probably
It's
not.
not like it's not going to change in California or
Yeah.
Washington or New York. Like abortions will still be happening and nothing will change there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they'll probably expand their services to accommodate for all the other people coming
Oh,
from other states,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, are you worried about the people who are against it? It's like they're against it.
You're
And they're
not gonna
living in a
change
state
their
that they're against
mind.
it. You're not going to
Yeah.
change their mind by telling them to get angry and say, "Oh,
No.
it's a war on women." Like, no, they love it. They're actually happy that they're that about the decision because that's what they support.
Yeah.
So I guess they just kind of create this narrative, trying to make themselves look bigger than they are by saying it's a war on women. We need to unify and like be against men.
Mm-hmm.
I think men should go on a sex strike. That's it. We're done with these people.
What would the purpose of that be?
Well, you knock up less stupid people.
Okay. So they would be against
Yeah.
the abortions too.
The way that they talk is like this is all evil men doing this stuff because it's a war on
Oh,
on
but see
women.
then if the men went on a sex strike, the women would complain about that. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyways, let's get back to the video.
White women of privilege will still have access after their senators fuck them. Poor working mothers will not. Young women who are victims of sexual assault will not. Women who found out that their child is not viable in the third trimester will not. And who the fuck knows what's going to happen ectopically because half you men prove that you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is. How do I have less rights than my mother? Not everybody believes in your...
Okay.
That's a whole lot of misinformation. Where's the warning label saying this
I
is
did. I gave an
misinformation?
I. Well, oh yeah, yeah. Well, I gave disclaimer for our viewers.
No, you
Viewer
did. You
discretion
did. But what
advised.
is this? No, it's Twitter. Um,
It's Twitter, but
Twitter
it's a
has not flagged
TikTok
it.
from libs of TikTok.
Nice. Yeah, no, but it's not flagged, is it? That
Oh
has
no, of
misinformation?
course not.
Of course not. This is absolutely true. Believe everything she says. She's an expert.
Clearly.
Yeah, but we already addressed the ectopic pregnancy issue. What
Yeah,
else? What
yeah.
else did she say?
She said she has less rights than her mother. So if
How
she's
does
like
that work?
30, her mother's like 60, 70. So what are we talking about? 1950s maybe? I don't think so. I don't know I don't know much history about women's rights. Do you?
I studied it a lot, but
Oh yeah, you did.
not
First year, right? So what did you learn?
Oh boy. I think I've blocked it all from my memory.
You were
Um,
traumatized.
Women's rights. Yes, actually, I took a women's studies course in first year and it was traumatizing. I learned a whole lot of things I never wanted to know.
Mm.
Um, but women's rights. No, like there is the suffragette movement and that got the right to vote. I don't know what
Well,
the
what's the time frame for that?
Oh, we got the right to vote in 1916 in Canada.
Okay.
So women
So
already
they have
had
the right to vote.
so her mother had more rights than her grandmother.
Right. Yeah, and that's a fact.
And now she claims that she has less rights than her mother. But abortion was not actually a constitutional right, so it hasn't been taken away.
It should,
So you
well,
have the same amount of rights, nothing has changed.
yeah. Well, except you have more possibilities at work, a lot more than back in the day, for
That's
sure.
true, actually. Now, because now places will hire you based on the fact that you're a woman
Yep.
or a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, or um, or the BIPOC community.
Yeah,
So
it's not about your skills or your talents.
not at
It's
all. We don't care about that.
it,
Anybody can do any job as
yeah.
long as you fit, as long as you give us the virtue signaling points.
So again, more misinformation, clearly. Anyways,
Yeah, she does not have less rights than her mother.
Not everybody
let's see.
believes in your
What else
cloud,
she has to
Papa.
say?
The fact that you tied religion to your decision is pathetic. Rolling back the clock on women's rights and bodily autonomy is pathetic. You fucking conservative cunts love fetuses. You love fetuses. You are pro-birth. You are pro-amniotic sac because fetuses can't talk and they can't vote against you. But they make a good narrative for your fucking re-election campaigns. Pathetic. This will never stop abortions, ever. It stops them from being safe. It stops women from dying from them. It stops women from having back alley abortions or throwing themselves downstairs. All you did was hurt women. Women of color, BIPOC women, minority women, women who are in poverty, women who have to make a horrifying decision of their life versus the fetus. Most of the time, it's a clump of goddamn cells. Cells! So women get to
Yeah, we're gonna pause right there.
She's really starting to sound like Margaret Sanger.
And I think that's enough. I'm done. So just a couple of things. She talked about how this was a religious decision and how religion gets in the way of their decisions, but it was like there was no mention of religion in the court case. Nothing that talks about, oh, because religion doesn't allow it, therefore we're not going to do it. No, it was not even part. It was not even a talking point.
Further misinformation.
Further misinformation. So again, yeah, it's just it's sad. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how else to react to something like this.
I would just like to point out that abortion is a choice. And it is something that is actually like encouraged. Like if you Yes. Pregnancy is a choice, abortion is a choice. Have some responsibility. But she talks about like the people that this is going to affect, and it's the BIPOC women, and it's the minorities, and it's I forget everything else. She listed a lot. She never said it's going to affect white women.
Oh no. Who cares about white women?
uh, um but yeah, she's starting to sound like Margaret Sanger there, because that is the reason that abortion clinics were, well, I'm not sure if that's the reason that abortion clinics were like created, but they were very strategically placed in Black communities in the States when they first opened. The point was to reduce the Black population.
Singer straight up said that she wanted to build them specifically to give abortions to Black babies because she basically was a major racist.
Yeah, exactly. So the roots of Okay, so the world is freaking out about racism all the time now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but abortion's roots literally stem from racism.
Yeah.
But everybody loves abortion, apparently.
Well, and eugenics, yeah.
Well, yes.
Like Hitler, I was looking this stuff up yesterday about Hitler and the abortion laws in the Third Reich, and it was like they had abortions and a shit ton of abortions because they wanted a clean race and all of this. It's used for eugenics. It's literally
It is.
um, it's a tool to reduce the population or control population growth.
Abortion is really good population control,
Hmm.
which is horrible.
And though, like, I mean, we're discussing this issue based on personal just personal ideas and personal opinions on this. And I
But we
mean,
did the research to you.
we did the
The
research in
facts.
terms of the decision. It's like, if you really do want abortion and you think it's good for society because that's your argument and whatever reasoning you have for that, then you go ahead and live in a state that supports your reasoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this decision is great for everybody. It's great for the pro-abortionists and it's great for pro-life people because now there's no polarizing amongst the communities because the decision will be made by that community and not by a couple of people sitting in Supreme Court and telling you whether that's good or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win for both. I don't know why you're so pissed off. They need a chill pill.
They just wanted something to freak out over. That's what it is. Everybody is always looking for the next big issue, and then they build a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at some images from the protests, and we got a couple here. So, the first one is just kind of a meme, a cartoon. Why is no one asking how pregnant men feel about Roe v. Wade? Yeah, so what's going on, guys? Like, now we know what a woman is, right?
Oh, we do?
Now we can define a woman.
What is the definition?
Well, it's somebody who can get pregnant, right? Because they're screaming for women's rights. What about men who can get pregnant? What happened to those? I thought they said men could get pregnant. I thought,
Scroll
you've
down
got
a
all the
bit, it's not-
transgender and all of this LGBTQ. They're
Uh-huh.
completely ignoring the topic. What's going on? What
They
happened?
just disappeared.
What
a
happened
bit.
to the narrative? Huh?
Yes, which actually is interesting because I was reading something yesterday that said that Planned Parenthood. So there was a Pride parade on the weekend. I forget what state this was, but the main attraction of the parade, the like number one float, was Planned Parenthoods.
Okay.
So they're big supporters of all the Pride stuff. So I guess the question is, yeah, how did they forget to factor that one in?
I don't know. It baffles me.
Okay, but also I have a question.
It's usually first that comes up, but that's a hole in the narrative because clearly
It is.
they know what a woman is.
Yes, exactly. They just admitted it.
Yeah.
So get your story straight, please.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show like how many like holes there are in their arguments, how ridiculous it is, and then they're just gonna point at another distraction. Oh, look over there.
Yeah. I guess it's pretty easy to label them as left extremist.
Any kind of extremism is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do have a question though. So men who can or cannot get pregnant, whether trans or whatever, I don't even know. But would they get
Oh,
an
no.
abortion?
What? Men
Are
can't
a-
get pregnant.
No, they can't. But okay, but there are like the trans that were women first. Right?
Oh, that
so
became
they still
men.
have those reproductive organs and
Yeah.
can get pregnant because they haven't fully transitioned. Would they get an abortion? If they're trying to be men and not act like a woman, then maybe. But also some of them do that so that they can have children. So it's like, are they being intentional about it? Like, it's just very ironic
Is this like a philosophical question, or you're trying to tap into the minds of these people, what they would do?
Yeah, like I want to know if okay, men cannot get pregnant.
I can't tell you because I'm not one of those people.
Good.
But in terms of philosophical standpoint, I think that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Like, are we seriously gonna? Okay, I don't even know.
No,
This
no.
is it's too confusing. I can't even like phrase the question that I want to.
If you're throwing in the entire like extreme leftist agenda into this and the whole narrative with like LGBTQ and men can get pregnant and all of this nonsense, then it gets really confusing now.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of holes with it. And it's like that's completely thrown out of the window, and all of a sudden all these crazy leftists know what a woman is. It's pretty baffling.
Yes, it is. Okay, but the other thing I have to say about that too is, and this is what I learned in my women's studies course that I would recommend everyone not take. Please don't. Horrible waste of whatever. Waste of your time will hurt your brain and leave you traumatized. But women's rights now are not like for women. They do not benefit women. So I think it's interesting too that they're basing this whole argument on like this is attacking women's rights. Okay, but when the left side talks about women's rights, they are also including the whole LGBTQ sphere, and it's anyways, it's like everybody. It's like equality stuff, but not really. It's just a mess.
It's a complete mess. Yeah.
But it's not really women's rights. And women's studies, by the way, is also not even women's studies. So that was my first mistake in taking that course.
Your mistake
I was going
was
to learn about women in history, and then I got a whole bunch of trans information.
your mistake was taking the course. Period.
Big mistake. But it's okay. Then I ended up in a better program, and now that's something that anyways.
Okay, well
Now I'm
let's.
graduated, and we're done with school and all of the leftist propaganda there.
You left that behind.
Yes.
The dark
it's
past.
over. It's gone. We've moved on to better things.
All right, well let's talk about this woman who is clearly confused. I mean, even just by the look in her face. Who's holding a baby and also has another baby in her belly. Not yet a human though. Technically, by the Canadian law, the definition in the Canadian law, she is right, which is kind of fucked up. But
That's really scary.
at the same time, it's like, what is it? Is it an alien you got there? Who knocked you up? Maybe it is an alien.
Oh no. I personally would disagree. I would say that she's pregnant with a human, but yeah, we have that quote. It's down there if you scroll quite a ways down. Oh no, but it's the Canadian definition. We're still talking about the States.
Yeah, we're still talking
We
about
will
the
get
States.
to that. We will talk about this, but we're going to get through the States first.
Yeah. Anyways,
How can you be holding a child and like I assume maybe I'm wrong,
poor
but I
baby,
assume
though.
that this woman is not going to get an abortion.
I really hope not, but but you never know with these people. She might get an abortion just to piss people off.
That is so vile.
Poor children, though. Like, poor child's gonna be born with this mother, and her mother is like, it's just so confusing. Like, don't you love your children? Like, a lot of them act like, children are just a terrible thing that happens to you, and it's a huge burden, and it's like the worst time of your life.
I would disagree.
Like,
I think that children are a blessing.
But I think if you think of children that way, then don't fucking have children.
Yes, again, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's like, and a lot of them are just acting in ways that are like, it just kind of, that women just get pregnant like every day, and it's like a thing that happens all the time, and therefore we need these services to like to prevent that. But you have so many protective measures that I went over those at the beginning. Like,
There's a lot these days.
there's a lot these days that you can do if you really don't want children. You could literally prevent that. Just go to your doctor, speak with your doctor. They'll make sure you don't have children. It's not hard. So there's really no excuse. I don't know why they're acting like this,
But in terms of growing up with parents like that, like I know a woman who her parents told her that they considered aborting her. Like if that's not a screwed up way to, like that's just you know that now your whole life that at some point your parents did not want you to the point that they considered killing you.
Yeah, you could have never existed.
Yes, and yet she is very strongly pro-abortion. Yeah. But honestly, I feel like that's kind of like one of it's just like knowing that information has got to mess you up.
Yeah.
And also like the fetus can like feel what emotions its mother is going through. So like if at some point she has totally rejected that child, that is going to be trauma for that infant.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's just something you're going to have to deal with your whole life. That is horrible.
You're a horrible parent if that happens.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Or don't have children if you have that opinion about children.
But then be proactive if you don't want to have children.
Yeah, you have to like prevent that from happening. And there is multiple ways of doing that.
A lot of ways to do that.
So, Tara Dement. Yeah, Tara Dement says millions of people who can become pregnant in the United States now face a future where they will not be able to make deeply personal choices that affect their bodies. And I was talking to you about this earlier, deeply personal choices, because a lot of the things in our society that are labeled in, you know, kind words rather than saying for what it is.
Yeah. That's exactly what that is.
Deeply personal choices. You mean like, you know, killing a fetus, killing a baby. Abortion is intentional killing of a baby. That's the definition, right?
Yeah, it is. That's a deep... Okay.
Further on, it says people will be forced to give birth. They'll be forced to seek unsafe abortions.
No one's forcing you to seek an abortion.
Well, no one is forcing you to give birth either. This is the outcome of decades-long campaign to control the bodies of women, girls, and people who can become pregnant. And so it does include people who can become pregnant. So they're talking about the men who can become pregnant, I guess, and the trans whatever. So that there's inclusivity right there. And it paves the way for unprecedented state legislation to criminalize abortion, as well as other bills that will aim to strip human rights from people in the United States, including the potential for bills that will affect access to birth control, gender, and marriage equality, as well as other anti-discrimination laws.
So it's discriminatory to allow the states to decide for themselves whether they will allow abortion or not.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that this is going to be like it's just going to trickle down to other rights. But again, going back to the whole decision, it's like the only reason that this was overturned is because it's not stated in the Constitution. And the implication was just very, very far-fetched. So that's why it happened. Now, in terms of the other rights that are explicitly stated in the Constitution, that cannot be overturned or cannot be removed because it's in the fucking Constitution and explicitly stated. So, yeah, well, again, this is like fear-mongering. It's telling people, hey, get armed, start fighting this.
To what end, though? What is the purpose of getting everyone so angry over something so small? Literally just to cause division in society.
Yeah, well, it's further division. It's well, another thing is that in the States, the midterm elections are coming up. And
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah. That's what you get for watching the news and stuff. You get to know
You
these.
just know everything.
And so Joe Biden has had like record low ratings leading up to the midterm election. So I wonder if all this fuss is to boost up his reputation a little bit, because he's obviously pro-abortion. He wants the decision to be made on a national scale. So possibly that is the narrative that's being pushed by the mainstream media, just to get people all, up in arms about this, because it's really not. It's kind of like the whole thing with the travel restrictions, where it was kind of
Oh
like
yeah, big
a
headline
non,
over nothing.
yeah, big headline over nothing. Because yeah, it is kind of, you know, it's symbolically a win for individual rights, which
That's
is
what
kind
it
of
looks
ironic.
like.
Yeah, but but again, nothing is going to change in your day-to-day life. If you want to get an abortion, you live in California, you can fucking do that. If you want to get an abortion in New York, you can do that. If you live in Alabama and you live in all these other states that don't like abortion, then you can't do that there, and you can only do it for very, very specific reasons. For example, danger to a woman's life. So
But then it's not technically abortion.
then it's not even abortion. So it's like nothing has actually changed, because the people who can get abortions will get abortions. The people the people that want to get abortions will get abortions. The people that don't want to get abortions won't. But except now, this decision is going to be made locally. So again, it was like a non-announcement.
Yes, exactly.
So again, this could be a distraction from something else that they're doing
Ooh.
in the States, but we're not going to be looking too far into the States any longer. We're going to switch.
Because we are Canadian.
But before we do that, let's check out some of the comments that we have.
Oh yes, because we had people asking about that, right? Like, what
in
are
terms
the
of
implications
Canada.
for Canada? So we will get into that momentarily.
So on YouTube, Let Freedom Ring says, "Hi Seesaw, nice to see you live." Awesome, thank you for joining us. I'm not sure what this is, but Terra Destroyer.
Oh, it just listed who the Margaret Sanger Award went to in various years. Apparently Martin Luther King.
That's kind of ironic. Wasn't she like racist towards the blacks? But you've got the MLK. You got MLK. But
That's interesting.
Rockefeller, Kathleen Turner.
Okay, was a communist.
Okay, I need to.
So that's why he got the
history
award.
a little bit more.
So what is the Margaret Sanger Award? What is that for?
Oh,
Do we know?
I don't know. Let's.
Do you want to
look
search that up?
What is the Margaret Sanger Award?
Hillary Clinton though got up there
Yeah,
on,
she did.
and Nancy Pelosi. Look at that.
Nice.
Well,
Okay.
let's see.
The Margaret Sanger Award, which is Planned Parenthood's highest honor, recognizes leadership, excellence, and outstanding contributions in the fight to provide and protect women's health services. Just saying, I would not call abortion a health service.
What would you call it?
That's not a health service. That's murder.
Murder service.
Yikes. That our tax dollars pay for.
Well, that's what we have to kind of sink into people, is that you have to call it for what it is, right?
Yes, that goes back to the quote that you were just talking about that we just jumped from.
Because I think this would promote, well, not promote, this would refrain people from believing in these things, because then they don't sound so nice and all for your rights and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
This is what it is. They're
Yeah.
actually advocating for child murder, but
And the phrasing that surrounds, getting an abortion too is also very. It does not tell you what the extent of it is. It like the phrasing is just get it dealt with is quite often what people will say.
get it out
like,
as if it's just a little bug, like a little
Yeah.
problem.
it's like it's so easy. Just go get an abortion. Just then you won't have to deal with it. When it's like a 16-year-old girl whose boyfriend got her pregnant, and he's like, oh, I don't want the responsibility of being a father now, and we're not married, and like I want to go do whatever with my life, go to school or something, not be committed to you forever, or what is that called? Paying like child.
Alimony.
Yeah. just go get it dealt with. You know,
Yeah,
get the
get it over with.
situation fixed. But that does not. It's not an easy fix. That is like trauma to your body. I mean, even if you don't have an abortion, if you have a miscarriage, or um, even like after you do give birth, like the fact that your body is like, oh, I was pregnant 1 minute and now I'm not. Like that is a big thing for your body to be dealing with. And I don't think that a lot of people are informed of what happens with that when they're going to get an abortion. Like they think it's just an easy little thing and everything will go back to normal. But it takes time for your body to go back to it to adjust to the state of not being pregnant.
Well, especially if the abortion is in the late stages,
Yeah.
which is permitted here in Canada. All stages, you could theoretically get an abortion the day before the due date, or the day of the due date, as long as the
Oh
child
my
is not,
goodness.
you're not in labor or whatever.
No,
Well,
because that would
do
be
you
homicide.
do you have any personal stories of like any friends who dealt with the issue?
like had abortions?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
because I know a friend of mine, or a former friend of mine, I guess, who got pregnant. She was in her third year university, and she's very wealthy, like very wealthy family. And she got knocked up by her boyfriend. Her boyfriend said he's leaving her because she didn't want an abortion. She was very religious, apparently. Um, yeah, and so she was like contemplating it. She's like, I don't know what to do. And then, and essentially she went to her friends, and all her friends were like, oh, you have your career ahead of you, you have all these things to do. And she's like, oh, but I don't know, because I can support it, and my family said they will support the baby. So it was just a whole mess, and eventually she decided to get an abortion when she was in her second trimester.
Wow.
Yeah.
After her family said they would support that, that is pretty surprising actually, because I feel like that's a big thing for people, is that it's very shameful that they
Yeah. But she
got
wasn't even
pregnant.
upset. She was like, oh, I went in, and they put me to sleep. I woke up and everything's great. Like,
Oh
that
my
was her
goodness.
attitude. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I felt more sick than she did when I heard that. I was like, you were like 4 months down the road. But yeah, that's like a personal experience that I've had with abortion. And it was very unpleasant to hear about it. And that's not even my child, or anything like that.
No, that's
It's just a
horrible.
friend, a distant friend, so to speak.
Yeah. No, I don't know anyone.
And it would be different if it was a case of like rape or things like that. It would be a little bit different. But the reason I felt so sick was
There.
because this baby would have been fine,
Yeah.
and you had no excuse really,
Yeah.
except
That's
for the
like
fact that you
literally.
just
I
didn't want
just
the
don't want it
inconvenience
to.
of a child. That was it.
Wow.
Like
That's awful.
how is that permitted? Because apparently you can just go in for any reason. There's no need for anything. You can get an abortion like this. You can get abortions easier than fucking anything these days, especially here in Canada, which is sickening. So let's see the rest of the comments here. We addressed all the comments on YouTube. Facebook, we've got no comments yet, so let's just jump into Canada.
All right.
So
Nice little segue from that very depressing
yeah,
story.
I'm going to get rid of these ones. What's this? So I'm gonna set up Canada and all its stuff there.
All right.
So I guess you haven't had an encounter with that yet.
No, I have. Okay, I guess I have the opposite, but this was like long before I was born. But I know people who were pressured by their families to get abortions and then chose not to. And I think that's like, I know this family and they're very loving and very Christian. And I'm like, just like hearing about this, like the fact that that was the reality. Again, it was like it was a teen pregnancy, and her parents were like pushing her to get an abortion. And I'm like, why? That shocks me because I know them, and I cannot imagine that they would suggest that. But she didn't, and
That's good. Good on her
yeah.
for not giving in to the pressure. But yeah, I'm surprised about the family though.
Yeah. I am very surprised with that.
Yeah.
That was a really strange story to hear. But other than that, like this is not anyone that I know, or if I know people where this is the situation, I don't know that. But I have heard like accounts of women just like sharing stuff on social media. That's the other thing, is like anyone who speaks out against abortion, who has had an abortion, gets silenced. Like you don't hear about that very often, because it's anti-abortion, and the government is clearly trying to push that in Canada, at least, if not explicitly the states as a whole. And it's like women who've had or this one story came up that it was a woman who'd had 2 abortions with previous exes, and then she did finally have a child with whoever afterwards, and it was like the realization of, this is not my first child, this is my 3rd child, and I killed the first 2.
Oh,
Like,
oh
can
yeah,
you
you told me about
imagine
this. Yeah.
like your brain working through that process of, I actually should have 3 children and I don't. Like, this is not, like, do you realize that it is?
It's a big deal.
It's a human being, and you commit murder if you are getting an abortion. And I know the legal definition of a human being in Canada is, we're going to talk about that, but it's still, I disagree with that definition. But just, oh man, the other thing about abortion is they don't tell you about the, like, all of the negative side effects of it. I also am not going to claim to know half of them, but I know that it does definitely affect you mentally and emotionally, obviously physically. But like the depression that occurs afterwards is, I think, pretty common. Guilt is a huge thing too, because, well, either you're completely naive and you don't realize what you just did and you killed someone, you killed your child. And if you do realize that, then there is that extreme guilt. And I know for some people, it's like afterwards they realize what they've done, and then the rest of their lives they're going to like punish themselves for it.
Yeah.
And never have, like, choose to never have children, even if
feminists to justify it.
there's that too.
Just to live the lie
Throw you
instead
in the
of
opposite direction.
facing what actually happened.
Yeah, but there are definitely women who punish themselves for it. Or the other thing too, I have heard that this is a relatively common perspective afterwards, but it's like, if you've had an abortion and then you have a miscarriage afterwards, people will like take that as being punishment for their previous actions. Yeah, so just think before you act, and maybe don't kill people. Is that too much to ask? It's really easy to not get an abortion. You just don't go to an
You just
abortion.
don't. Yeah, of course. But I also just hate that comparison that they make with the like vaccine mandates, how that's okay. But yeah, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, just because, you know, vaccine mandates is literally forcing you something, or coercing you to take a medical procedure, whereas this is telling you to not take a medical procedure or to have the choice to do it.
Yeah.
It's literally giving you more choice.
Yes.
Like, I wish this happened with vaccine mandates, you know?
Yeah. It is up to your province to decide whether they should.
Well, it largely was up to the province.
Well, yeah, because healthcare is.
Yeah. But
It was heavily the federal government was pushing it a lot, specifically Trudeau, specifically during the election campaign back in September.
Yeah.
It was like the only thing that he ever talked about. You got all of the.
There's a lot to
and
talk
things.
about Canada, so.
Yes, so for those of
I'm
you
still
wondering
opening
how
these.
this relates to Canada, we did a lot of research and we found out a lot of things that are very interesting, and we could talk about this for a while. We have been talking about this for a while.
Yeah. Well, so we're gonna begin with the history. Oh.
On my way here this morning, I saw a big like poster presentation kind of thing on a wall that was like the history of LGBTQ rights in Canada. So we're gonna look at a timeline.
So, well, let's begin. We kept everybody waiting for a while, so here we are.
Well, I hope that my talking was entertaining. It wasn't just dead silence, but yes, let's continue.
So, no more new comments rolling in, so we're good. We're good to go into Canada and what
Yes.
our abortion laws are. So we're gonna
Feel
first take a
free to
look.
still comment.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at those as soon as we're done our presentation here. So,
Ooh,
Canada's
the National Abortion Federation.
Canada's abortion history begins in 1969, where abortion was permitted but was limited. In 1969, the Liberal government permitted abortion under certain circumstances. Abortion were to be provided only in a hospital if a committee of doctors decided that continuing the pregnancy might endanger the woman's life or health. And I like this. It's like you get a committee of doctors to discuss this and they come to a conclusion, whether this is, going. But then again, you said that's not even abortion, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can. You can keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can find the name of the procedure.
Yeah. So there it is. 1969 is when abortion was very limited to end pregnancy if it endangers woman's life. And that was only when the decision was made by a committee of doctors, which sounds great so far. In 1970, so just a year later, there was an abortion caravan. We got abortion convoy. The Vancouver Women's Caucus organized a caravan to travel from Vancouver to Ottawa as a national feminist protest to liberalize the abortion law. And it seems like this did not really pave well because nothing really changed until 1982. So 12 years later, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was enacted, and essentially any law found contravening those rights would be struck down as unconstitutional. And only in 1988, in the case of R.V. Morgentaler, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down Canada's abortion law as unconstitutional. The law was found to violate Section 7 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms because it infringed upon a woman's right to life, liberty, and security of person. So I find this ruling to be quite far-fetched, just as the one in the States. Because it doesn't say explicitly anything about abortion. It says about the woman's right to life, liberty, and security of persons. But their argument was that forcing a woman by threat of criminal sanction to carry a fetus to term, unless she meets certain criteria unrelated to her own priorities and aspirations, is a profound interference with a woman's body and thus a violation of her security of the person. So their argument was that it violates the woman's right for security of person. Therefore, they are going to be, they're going to have the right to abortion.
Okay, security of person. Again, how about you take some personal responsibility?
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I have to say.
And so at this time,
It's your choice.
in 1988, Canada became one of one of a small number of countries without a law restricting abortion. Abortion was now treated like any other medical procedure and was governed by provincial, territorial, and medical regulations. So, in Canada, our healthcare is governed by the provincial law. However, this ruling was still done by the Supreme Court of Canada that gave the right to an abortion. And it looks like it wasn't even like a steady, grow towards that decision. It was just outright like abortion is banned unless for a very specific reason, to abortion is legal for whatever reason and whatever women's priorities and aspirations are. But the argument here still is not that abortion is specifically stated in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It just says security of persons, and you can infer so many things from that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
So the security of the child is not a right.
it's not a right because security of a child is the child, but I mean a child is not a human by the definition,
Which we
or
still
a
haven't
child
gotten
is
to.
not a person's by definition. So we haven't gone to that, but
Maybe we should have started with that.
well, let's go into that. There we go. Here's the definition from the Canadian law. When child becomes a human being, a child becomes a human being within the meaning of this act when it has completely proceeded in a living state from the body of its mother, whether or not it has breathed, it has an independent circulation, or the navel string is severed. So the child becomes a human being only when it has completely proceeded from the body of its mother alive.
So that image from earlier, not a human yet.
Is not misinformation
Yeah.
in Canada.
Don't know what the definition of a human is in the States, but in Canada, yeah, that would be correct, unfortunately.
So, I mean, I guess by the rule of law, then the problem is with this definition. Who decides on this definition?
The government?
That's lovely. The lawmakers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like this definition gives the grounds for it, because I guess then the child does not get the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in terms of protection and life and liberty until it's born. So that's a problem.
Yes. And did you read the next clause there?
Oh yeah, killing child. So a person commits homicide when he causes injury to a child before or during its birth, as a result of which the child dies after becoming a human being.
So it's only homicide if you die after you're born. So abortion is not homicide.
Correct. I think that's why that part is there, just to clarify that abortion's not a homicide. Because technically you're not killing a human.
According to this definition.
Yes. Which I have a lot of problems with in terms of just...
Actually, rereading that doesn't make any sense. How can it be before birth if it's not a human being until it's been born?
What?
The second clause actually is
I think it's...
antithetical to the first.
I think it's like if you kill the child before birth and then the child is born and dies, then that's homicide still.
The child dies after being born.
But the reason it died was because of something that happened prior to birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know, maybe
That would be like the example that we were talking about today. I think it was an example. There was a woman who was in a car accident. She died, but they managed to deliver the baby. it was born alive, but then it died 2 months
Yeah,
later.
so that
would be,
well, it would be a
would that be
homicide if that was
homicide?
caused by a person.
Well, it was a car accident.
Yeah.
So is the person who hit her now guilty of homicide? Or I don't know how that would be classified. I forget the different, first degree murder or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
But I guess they would be charged with murder regardless of what they call it,
Yeah.
because that would be, yeah, well, in that case, that's a very specific case. But
Yes. I don't know what else you could do, like, unless you, gave the mother a drug or something, and the child was just basically in the process of dying of overdose of something as it was being born and then died afterwards. I don't know. Like, that's all I've got in terms of possible examples for that.
I guess that would be, yeah, that would be the only reason that qualifies there. Well, moving on in Canadian history of abortion. So now abortion is made completely legal 1988. Moving on to 1989.
Did you want to talk about the ectopic treatment? You want to come back to that, or?
We'll circle back.
Okay.
We'll come back to this after I'm just done
Finish
done
your
this.
timeline first.
So Tremblay versus Daigle. In 1989, the Supreme Court ruled that a father has no legal right to veto.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
A woman's abortion decision. The ruling came after the boyfriend of Chantal Daigle obtained a court injunction preventing her from getting an abortion. By the time the case was settled, Daigle had secretly obtained an abortion in the U.S.
Look how easy it is to cross the border and do whatever you want. Except now you gotta come to Canada.
So now, since 1988, things haven't gone any better for the pro-life people. Just because the restrictions and the, if we just go along with the rest of this,
Lifted.
the restrictions keep
Every
being lifted,
possible
and there's
restriction.
more restrictions to prevent this from being taken away, essentially. And they're expanding services. So I keep saying B. Bill C-43 from 1990 to 1991, where the federal government, led by the PCs, introduced this bill that would sentence doctors to 2 years in jail for providing abortions where women's health was not at risk. So this was kind of the only
only attempt that has been made to put any kind of
this, and I think
restriction.
there's one more, but it's very minor.
Yes, I don't think, because the timeline stops.
Yeah. So then looking 1995, rulings forced provinces to allow private abortion clinics. So again, they're just expanding the service. In 1995, provincial federal ruling forced Nova Scotia and New Brunswick to allow private abortion clinics. Despite that, access to abortions outside hospitals continued to be inconsistent across the country. So yeah, they're just expanding services. 2006 to 2015, there was an attempt to pass anti-choice legislation. During this period, there was several private members' bills introduced in the House of Commons. While the names of these bills appear to be benign, so again, this is a pro-abortion
Yes,
website.
it's literally the National Abortion Federation.
Yeah. But at least they go through the basic history of things and they summarize things very well. So
it gives us a taste of what it's like to be lefty.
Extreme lefty. All right. 2014, New Brunswick released changes regarding abortion. So since abortion was decriminalized in 1988, New Brunswick had the strictest regulations relating to abortion access. So again, provinces did not really have a specific say on whether abortion is going to be pro-abortion or against abortion, right? This was all the ruling in 1988 that established this. And the provinces had no say. They could limit the access of abortions, which like New Brunswick did, but clearly the population in New Brunswick was likely against it if they were limiting that access. Yet they had no power in that decision. So again, going back to the states and what's happening now, the people have more power in this because of the decision that was made by the Supreme Court. And I personally would hope that they would do the same thing here so that every province gets to decide on that. I mean, the healthcare system is provincial after all,
Yes.
right? And this
Yet.
this implication from the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is far fetched. It doesn't say explicitly that we have the right to that. And what's really disturbing to me is that in Canada there wasn't really like this slow, steady, because every country that's going from the position of no abortions to yay abortions, they're going steadily. It's like, oh, okay, well, first we'll allow abortions to happen with, these specific cases. Then we're going to allow abortions to happen first trimester. Like, there's steps, but it was like a switch. You go no abortion to abortion at any stage,
For any
anytime,
reason.
anywhere. For any reason. So why was there no debate? Why was there no talk about, hey, why don't we just do this first and see what happens? See if people are pro or against.
Because we can't take the time to discuss these things. It's not like Parliament actually is derived from the French
That's
word
their
for
job.
talking.
It's their job after all. How are we not furious about this stuff? Like, how are people not frustrated that there is no discussion on such an important matter in
Because
society?
they don't know.
Like, this is a big philosophical debate that goes back to antiquity, and we had no discussion about this stuff. It's just boom, done.
Yeah.
Over.
But people don't know this stuff. So now you know. Now our viewers know, and now you can spread the word about the history of abortion in Canada, how there has been no debate. Maybe we should get the debate going. They're actually avoiding it. Like, they are avoiding this topic in our government. They don't want to talk about it. They know they're wrong. They don't want to admit it. Okay, is there more?
Again, they're just expanding services in terms of the drugs used,
Yes.
expanded and safer access to abortion. And this is more of the recent stuff. They're just expanding things more and more. So there you go. This is the history of Canada on abortion.
Yes. And I will add two things. First, that MP Kathy Wagenthal introduced a bill, I forget what number it was, last summer, that was to put limits on abortion by restricting sex-selective abortion. So that is that's the last time that something like this came up in Canada, was last year. And
Sex selective abortion.
yeah, so that's like one of the reasons that people choose to have an abortion is in minority areas, I guess. It's more of a, like, this is
So you're
very
talking about the
traditionally
Canadian...
and stereotypically a Chinese and Indian thing, is
Right.
that they prefer male babies over female ones. So if they're, if you have a couple kids, or like in China with the one child policy that they had for years, if you knew the sex of your child was female, then a lot of people would choose to abort that child, try again for a boy. So this bill that she introduced was to restrict that from happening, so that we aren't getting gendercide happening in Canada. But that bill was shut down. So you can have an abortion for any reason in Canada.
Yep, any reason. If you just,
You just
one day
don't
woke
feel
up and
like
you're
it.
grumpy and you don't feel like it, you can get an abortion that day, no problem. But there's also like maybe have counseling, because it's a big decision, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe the doctor could offer counseling and say, hey, why don't you think about this for a couple of weeks? It's a big decision. Why don't you go to this therapist and they will help you out. They'll tell you all about abortions and keep you informed
'cause
about what
again,
actually
I think
happens.
people don't actually know.
People don't know.
I don't actually know. I don't actually want to know, but I know that they're bad. I know the gist of it, and I don't want to know more.
No, it's horrible. I mean, any doctor who's performed those would tell you. But that's the thing. Like, where are those services to give the people kind of, or the mothers, the women, not the mothers, I guess they wouldn't be mothers anymore.
Yes, they
But
are.
but the women, the perspective of like, this is what happens. Are you okay with that? Because that's going to be informed consent if we're going into medicine.
Oh, do we still have that these days?
Well, we do, quote unquote.
But if you don't even know what the procedure is that you're getting, like everyone just thinks they know what an abortion is. So you're pregnant 1 minute and now you're not. Problem solved.
That's how they think about it, yeah.
Yeah. But what actually happens? You don't know. You don't know, and you probably don't want to know. Like I think that's another big part of it is like people want to be in the dark about it yeah, because people have that attitude. If I don't know about it, then I'm not responsible for it. I've had this argument with lots of people. It's like, oh, I didn't know that it was illegal to, what was that situation? Genetic testing or whatever. It's illegal for your employment to be based on you having a genetic test in Canada. I was talking to someone, he was like, he was an employer, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that. That doesn't apply to me. That's not how the law works, guys. Just because you don't know it does not mean. Oh man,
I can't see you. You're not there. Where's Bethany?
That's exactly what it is. No, it's not. Ignorance is not an excuse. No.
Well, that's an excuse that most people use.
It is. It's not a legitimate excuse, though.
And also at schools, okay, I'm going to keep going back to the education because I think that's what's going to be, that's important. That's what could solve the potential cultural issues. Mm-hmm. Because at schools, you know, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, you go through sex ed in gym class, mm-hmm. right? You have your sex ed time.
I miss half those days.
And you, like, I mean, I don't know, do women talk about do the girls talk about like pregnancy and abortions, this type of stuff? Because like, I mean, I could understand why the guys don't talk about it, and I think guys should have an understanding of it too. But there is no specific discussion about, oh, this is what an abortion looks like.
Okay, that definitely never happened. It depends on the school that you go to. So I went to a Catholic elementary school for most of my elementary school education, and they actually have a really good sex ed program.
Okay.
Like that is like the one good thing that the Catholic system does have is a good sex ed program, because they start it in grade 1. And
oh wow.
Yeah, but it's not like explicit or anything. It's very age appropriate, like incredibly so. It's
okay.
really like I wish I owned
What did you learn in grade 1? What kind of dirty things did they teach you in Catholic school?
Nothing. No.
They made all kinds of naughty kids up in there.
No.
You make that comment, Bethany, that they do it well, except, you know, when it comes to the stereotype.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Active in the Christian world, the Catholics.
I am maybe. I'm not the stereotype. I'm just not in many, many ways. But I think that the education was really good. Okay, so maybe nobody else actually learned from it, and I left the Catholic school board in grade 6, so I didn't get anything beyond that. So I never actually got like the sex ed when I was in elementary school from the Catholic board, so I can't comment on anything beyond that. But in grade 1, they talk about like essentially what pregnancy looks like to a child. So it's like there's this story of this mom who has a daughter, and she's pregnant, and so she's like talking to her kid about like the, you know, like, oh, I should eat these foods because that's healthy for the baby. And I don't know if that's like technically nutritionally correct or not, and you know, we could get into a whole other discussion on that and what the government thinks is you know, telling us with food pyramids and stuff. But that's the introduction. It's like you're going to be a big sister, big brother kind of thing. It's very family oriented.
Okay.
So I do actually think that it's good quality education.
Oh, I see.
Yes. In the public school system,
so there's no mention of
that
sex
framework.
And
the
birth part. It's more like, okay, well,
birth
you're gonna have
maybe,
a brother,
but
sister.
it's like, you know, your mom goes to the hospital and she comes home and now you have like,
here's how you help out your mom and that kind of stuff.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So there's no actual like.
Okay, so that's not really sex ed. That's
no, but it's the beginnings of it from.
Right.
It's like it's.
And it
family
progressively
life.
gets more naughty as you go.
Progressively you get into the more like what is like puberty and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but then the public education system, I don't know what they teach in the younger grades because I did not experience that.
They don't. There's
Cool.
there's
There's
no
well,
talk.
that's
No.
true because the health education is quite often based on like don't cyberbully and don't do drugs. And in the past 2 years, we've seen lots of people taking experimental drugs and cyberbullying.
Yeah.
So there goes all of that education.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mostly about being respectful and all of
Yes.
this. But you don't start sex ed until grade 6. And that's when it's actual like sex ed. You learn about everything. Except abortions, clearly.
Apparently, yeah. But I don't remember ever like talking about pregnancy, even in like my high
Yeah.
school phys ed classes. It was like lots of talk about contraceptives.
Yes.
They really pushed that. I had a friend who went to school in the States who her health teacher told the class that abstinence is not the most effective form of birth control.
Oh, I wonder what is.
I don't know.
So there is a chance of pregnancy with abstinence? How does that happen?
Like one time in history that happened.
Oh, what's this? Oh, I do know.
Yeah, no, I would think that abstinence is the best.
So I guess
form
that one case.
that one, I don't know. I don't know what this teacher's argument was.
It's
she's-
that one case.
Yes. I don't.
But
I
it
don't
still
know.
beats
I don't
everything
know.
else. What else is better?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wish I
anyways.
knew. I guess my friend never finished that story, but she always had interesting things to say about that.
Okay, but just going back to the sex ed, why I mentioned this is because we do not have abortion as part of
Yeah.
the sex education. Like children don't know what an abortion looks like. They talk about contraceptives and ways
Should
to prevent
children
it.
know what an abortion looks like?
Well, grade 6, 7, 8, this is, grade 8 is like you're what, 13, 14, you're going into high school.
Is that
Like
not going to traumatize? Okay,
By
I
grade
was
8, grade
traumatized
9?
simply by the idea of abortion when I found out what it was. Like
Yeah.
that is sickening.
well, that should be discussed.
And I was not told what the procedure was. It was
Yeah.
literally just you kill the baby before it's born.
Yeah,
Was incredibly disturbing to me.
right. So, but
That was enough
that's enough.
for me to be like, okay, I'm never doing
No,
it.
yeah, like I'm not saying you have to show them the medical procedure and everything like that.
Please don't.
I mean, you might show an animated version and like, but nothing gory. But at the same time, you want to give the children the real image of what that is like,
Yeah.
because children don't know, and so they go into high school and these unplanned pregnancies do happen.
How about we talked about this in high school? Like grade
Yeah.
9 or grade 10?
Yeah. Oh, you could talk. Yeah, grade 9, grade 10. You
Maybe
grade
not
9, you
grade
still
8.
have mandatory
Yes.
gym class, and then grade 10 too, I
No.
believe. Or you have to take one more gym class
Yeah, you have to do
within.
something else.
Yeah, so at least in grade 9, like grade 9, that's a good time to talk about it because that's the time when, the kids start exploring and doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it makes sense to talk about abortions. This is what could happen, and this is
Know
the
what you're
implications.
getting yourself
This is the
into.
consequences.
Yes, let's talk about the repercussions of that mentally and physically and emotionally.
Yeah, yeah, and like that should be discussed a lot with women. That should be a big topic of discussion, but it's not.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not, and that's what sucks because they don't teach about these things. They just shut everybody's eyes around abortions. Literally, like even during the procedure itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. You were talking last night about how in the media it isn't even portrayed.
Oh, well, not in media, but like in like
Like-
movies and
Well,
shows.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
that-
mainstream
that-
media is just.
That's what I
Hey,
meant.
here's an
by
abortion.
media. Oh,
Here's
yeah.
some sex ed for you guys. Yeah, no,
Oh,
it's
boy.
it's not really shown much. I'm not
No,
sure
but
if
I think
that's
that's where
by
the
design or if that's just
Oh, I'm
because
sure that's by design. No, but remember how I was saying like there's that phrasing, just get it dealt with.
Yeah.
Like I know that from movies.
yeah, it's usually like the girl goes in the room, comes back, and then that's it. But you don't see what happens in the room. You don't know what happens in the room.
Yeah. It's like one of the very few things that they won't show on TV. I wonder why. It just might deter people from doing it.
Even the very gory ones like Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, the HBO stuff, they're like super gory about everything. But
I don't watch any of those.
yeah, never seen an abortion on one of those. But anyway,
Yes.
education's important, and that's what we need.
Oh, and on the note of education, what is the procedure for an ectopic pregnancy? This is from Planned Parenthood's website. So you can look it up at www.plannedparenthood.org/learn/pregnancy/ectopic-pregnancy. Pound key. Treating an ectopic pregnancy isn't the same thing as getting an abortion. Look at that. And yet people are using that as an argument. Abortion is a medical procedure that, when done safely, ends a pregnancy that's in your uterus. Ectopic pregnancies are unsafely outside of your uterus, usually in the fallopian tube, and are removed with a medicine called methotrexate or through laparoscopic surgical procedure. The medical procedures for abortions are not the same as the medical procedures for an ectopic pregnancy. So, if all of the feminists and the lefties' argument for why abortion has to be a right is for the sake of the very rare occasion that there is an ectopic pregnancy, well, you're wrong, because that is not treated with an abortion.
It's a different procedure.
It's a different procedure, and that is not what any of the states are making illegal.
Yeah.
That is still available to you if that is the situation that you're in. But we can't be like we need to know these things. And honestly, I didn't know that until like a week ago.
Yeah,
but I didn't know. I would not have assumed it was treated with an abortion.
The thing they're arguing is so bizarre because they're painting a picture of like this woman dying on the table, and the doctor's just standing there and just like watching. Hey, look, this woman's gonna die, but I'm gonna get the baby, so hell yeah. Like, that's kind of the picture that they paint, that, you know, they're gonna force them to give birth because they don't care about women's rights, and they only care about the fetuses, and like you know, obviously medical doctors, medical professionals, they know what they're doing, and they're gonna make the decision like, hey, no, that's gonna be unsafe, and we're gonna do this procedure that's not an abortion, but we will keep you safe, we will keep you alive, because you as a person have the right to life, liberty, and security. So your rights are protected more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they kind of make it seem like, you know, women are being hunted down and made pregnant and just made to give birth. Like, yeah, that's not what's happening here. Come down to earth, please.
Yeah.
You're floating really far up. Do you think it's all driven by just the feminist movement? Is this just the feminists doing this stuff?
I blame everything on feminism.
As a former feminist enthusiast.
Not extreme, not by any stretch. I did not know what third wave feminism was before I took that feminism class.
And
I
then
discovered
you're like,
that they were all...
I'm out of here.
Yeah. I discovered one day when we were talking about men in feminism that the majority of the class was radical feminists. And I was like, oh, I do not belong here. Okay, time to change programs.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was a very uncomfortable day. The funny thing is, the prof was even unimpressed with, it was a TA who was giving the lecture that day on men in feminism, and it was a guy too. And I was sitting in like the front row and just watching her expressions as he was giving this PowerPoint and having discussions with the class. She was so not happy with him. So I guess she was teaching that class, and probably to some degree a feminist, but obviously not as radical as the students that she was teaching.
Was like horrified with what was happening in the class. Yeah. Well, that's what you get. That's what happens when you get a bunch of extremists in one room. You're like, oh shit, this is a bad situation. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So you had this this article written up by the Canadian Physicians for Life on sex selection abortions. Did you want to go over that in more detail? It was written by a third-year medical student.
Yeah, okay. So the
Give a rundown of this.
I think this is in the first paragraph. I'm looking at the screenshot. It's about the sex selective abortion. It is legal in Canada because it was never made illegal.
Well,
Or you
that
can-
wasn't even a
if you s-
discussion.
No, it wasn't. Well, okay, but there was the discussion last year, as much of a discussion as it was or wasn't, about whether it should be made illegal, and it was not. But anyways, it says Canada is the only country in the Western world without any abortion legislation making abortions legal at any time in the pregnancy and for any reason. This lack of legislation allows for atrocities such as sex-selective abortions, which is the abortion of fetuses based on the predicted gender. And I was reading something last night, and I'm not sure if this is actually in practice, but people are asking for ultrasounds when you are told the sex of the baby to not happen until 30 weeks of being pregnant, because then at that point it's later on in the pregnancy, which will make you think twice about getting an abortion if it's not the sex that you wanted.
Or you
Is
end up
kind of
having
the
a horrific abortion.
Or that, yes, but the purpose for that is kind of to delay it. So it's like there is still reasoning for. It's like our legislation allows for it at any time and for any reason, but to a degree there is at least desire for some pushback against that, is kind of how I see that.
A little too
A little
small
bit.
for me, for my liking.
Well, yes. It's something. We're not totally a lost cause.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Oh, but other interesting thing. I heard Trudeau say on the radio like a month ago that abortion is a fundamental right.
Well, it is based on the court ruling, yeah.
No, in Canada. Wait, what?
It is based on the court ruling that happened in 1988. We
Oh,
read through the history.
Yeah. I had not done this research at that point, so I was
Right.
just like,
And you were just
sound
like
crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's not spreading misinformation there just because of the way the law
I'm
works.
disappointed to find that out, but yeah. Oh, but you were talking about how we should have counseling earlier, and the federal government actually wants to strip the charity status from pregnancy centers that are spreading disinformation, essentially dishonest counseling. That's the wording that's being used.
Dishonest counseling. Let me go to that article. Nope, that's not it. Was that in the same one?
No.
No. Was it separate? Well, anyways, let's get through some
see
of
it.
these, just the rest of these articles, and do a nice conclusion. We don't have any viewers as of now, and no more
Maybe
new
on
comments
Facebook.
to discuss.
We've got 23 viewers. Oh no, that's views. I don't know. I don't know how. This
I think
works.
23 people were on it, but
Cool.
not on it now. So okay. So going back to the point you made.
Ah, yes. There's this quote. I don't know if you can. I can't open the article now. But anyways, the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada, which has authored a number of reports into crisis pregnancy centers, argues they purport to offer support and information to pregnant women, but this is a guise to attract unsuspecting and vulnerable women and then counsel them against getting an abortion. Okay, but don't abortion clinics do the opposite? Attract unsuspecting and vulnerable women and then counsel them into getting an abortion?
Yep.
So it's like, well, if you are doing that, maybe we'll keep the other ones and it will balance out a little bit. But the problem with the charity status being removed from these is that these pregnancy care centers are funded by donations. And so if you take away the like tax receipt that people can get for donating to the charitable organization, people will stop donating to the charitable organization, which is no longer a charitable organization. Anyway, they'll stop donating because they can't get the tax receipt. And then the but because they no longer have a charitable status, the organization will have to be paying property taxes, whatever other taxes, and essentially will have no funding, no
They
money.
will cease to exist.
Exactly. And then we have no pregnancy care counseling that could be working to at least get people to think before they go and have an abortion. Because the other thing is too, like these pregnancy centers, like they're, as much as the government wants to say that they are giving dishonest counseling, the center itself is not a medical clinic. Like they can't provide an abortion. So for you to walk in there and be like, I want to get an abortion, and for them to be like, oh, here's why you shouldn't, well, that's like, yes, a lot of them are Christians, so they're not going to push for an abortion, but they're going to just get you to think about it.
Isn't that the point of what they do?
Yes, it's counseling.
It's counseling. It's
think
literally
about it
supposed to help
first.
you process through this.
Exactly. And well, we don't want to have
Yeah,
any
so
counseling.
essentially what's happening in Canada is that we're further expanding the services to kill babies, and we are further restricting the services to have babies.
Mm-hmm.
In a nutshell, that's what's happening, because they're making it harder for these institutions to continue their practices of pro-life,
Mm-hmm.
but they're making it easier for institutions to install more abortion access.
Yep.
And again, there's no education, there's no counseling, there's very little help from anybody, and even the ones that did get help are now being targeted for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's the narrative that's being pushed, and nobody's really talking about this stuff in Canada. It's just, yay, we are allowed to do everything we want, and we have all the rights we want. But that should be a debate. That should be a discussion at the very minimum. Now, as we mentioned, that now, because it's so horrific, as Trudeau described, so terrible that we have that Roe v. Wade was overturned, that he says that Canada will allow Americans to cross the border for abortions. So what do you think about
so
that?
now our tax dollars are going towards paying for the murder of American babies, not just Canadian ones.
Oh, yes. I would love to support that. This is taxpayers' dollars. We are paying into the healthcare, and the healthcare system is, and they're saying that it's going to be overwhelmed because of how many people are going to come, and like, oh my goodness, what do? We need more abortion services. Like, this is the stuff they're talking about on CBC and all of these places.
Wow.
And that's the problem. It's not the problem that the taxpayers' money is going to be going towards murder of children from another a citizen of another country. It's like, no, it's about fitting everybody in. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, now let's wrap things up. We discussed most of the things that have gone on with Roe v. Wade and its implications on Canada and the abortion laws here. Things are pretty grim in Canada, and they're looking to be a lot worse as the time progresses, because things, as I mentioned, they are expanding towards abortion and limiting access to the services
to help for pregnancies. That
to
you
help
want to keep.
pregnancies. Yeah, and it's unfortunate what's going on in our country, but thank you for those who did join briefly on our community live stream, and were able to interact at the very minimal. We appreciate that, and thank you all for joining. We do have other content to check out on our channels. We have a student story
Just came out today.
on
Julie's.
Julie Pranger. She is going to talk about her situation that she's facing with Western University. where she's not really allowed to go back because of the vaccination mandates, despite them being all dropped and all these things happening. So
Paused.
paused. So check out that story. It's an interesting one, and we will have more content coming for you in the next few weeks. So stay tuned
And let us know what you want to hear.
let us know how we could improve. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.